everyone, welcome back. Chris McCormick, Vice President of Tour and Education, joined by Blake Smith, our lead master fitter here at our Scottsdale HQ facility. And today we have an opportunity to showcase a brand new offering from Titleist. We have 4 brand new heads coming from their T-Series line. So this year they're going to be introducing the T100, 150, 200, and 350. So to give us a little rundown, Blake, what do we have going on starting with T100?
Yeah, so Titleist really does a good job of making sure they refine what they've done before. They get a lot of tour player feedback. What they've done this year is they've taken the numbers, so the number scheme that was before, so the T100, the T100S, T200, and T300, and then 400, they've shrunk that a little bit. So they go T100, T150, T200, and T350. So the 350 takes care of 2 of them. Titleist does a really good job because they don't release anything real fast. So it takes them 2 years of product testing and R&D to release something. They don't release something unless it's really good. And from what I know before we're gonna do this, they are really good.
That's, touching on that, the cadence in which they release really speaks to it has to be definitively better before it comes to market and in our players' hands.
Yeah.
With that, let's go ahead, jump in, do some testing.
Let's go.
So Blake, first iron that we have up is going to be redesigned T100. So this has been a benchmark iron design for Titleist for several years, ever since its initial launch as AP2. So with this guy, a little bit of redefining going into the overall shape, some new components with how they redistribute tungsten internally, and then also that dual design forged face that brings everything together for improved feel and performance. A lot of tour players out here absolutely love this iron, so I wouldn't expect a complete redesign from the ground up, but with the refinements that they do make, we should see some improvements.
Yeah, this is the #1 iron for Titleist on tour. Most of them play this. They don't play anything else. When they hit this, they're like, okay, that's one I'm gonna wanna play. This one has the most loft, so it's gonna be interesting to see how far this one goes, the improvements.
Okay, so we've got our green out here set 215 yards at sea level, 80-degree day.
All right, first impression looking down on this. It's obviously a player iron. There's not a lot of offset, which obviously I'm gonna gravitate toward. They've softened up that toe. So it was a little bit sharper before. Now it's a little bit softer. Can't see the back of it. This is a tour inspired iron, so I'm obviously gonna like it. All right out of the gate, I flushed it.
It's always a good sign.
Yep, that felt really good. Yeah, I went far. Felt really solid.
And with T-Series, it's important to note the progressive offset and top line and overall just footprint size of each of these irons as you move from the T100 up to the 350. So with 100, smaller top line, more tour inspired like we talked about. And the story here is all about feel and consistency, workability, playability for the better player.
Yep. Yeah, that was a good one. A little bit of a draw there. Solid though.
So especially speaking about a product like this, which is a true benchmark product for Titleist, so not going to be a lot of changes, but acoustically the sound definitely checks that box. Feel on your end, what would you say?
Sound and feel are married, and it's a real solid sound, real solid feel. That's a little bit of a miss. We'll see how forgiving it is. Yeah. I'd take all 3 of those.
Next head that we're going to test is T150s. So this is a new addition to the T-Series lineup. This is going to be replacing last year's T100S. So what we're going to see here is we're keeping the 2 degrees stronger loft profile that we had in T100S, but this guy is going to get a slightly larger footprint, a little bit larger top line from what you're going to see, slightly more offset, still kind of tipping the cap to the player's profile, but obviously adding a little bit of forgiveness to us. With 2 degrees stronger loft, I would expect to see a little bit more ball speed, so obviously more distance. And with the inclusion of more tungsten in that head, we still, even though it's 2 degrees stronger, should see a little bit more consistent profile than what we had out of T100S.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the launch window this comes out at. First impressions when I look at it, I mean, just a little bit thicker top line, not much. Offset, just like you said, there's a little bit more. Still sticking with the player profile. I mean, this could be a blended set from the T150s and the long irons, like down to a 5 iron, and then T100 on the shorter iron. So it blends really well. We'll see how it feels. That felt fast. And it went really far. Wow. That was a significant gain.
I mean, apex height from what we saw in the previous iron, not a lot of change here.
Yeah. Spin rate came down. Yeah, that's ripped. Nice little auto draw on this right now.
Well, for you, adding a little bit of offset, yeah, we are seeing start line be slightly more left and more curvature downrange than what we saw out of the previous head in the 100.
Yeah, a little lower spin, but it seems like my land angle's fine. So,
yeah,
and
launch isn't
that's
bad.
one thing that they really look at when they're doing their fittings and they're doing their construction. They look at land angle. So that's where they put their tungsten. So they'll put their tungsten in the long irons low, and then they'll progressively change that tungsten, make it so that CG goes a little bit higher in the short irons, make them a little bit more controlled. But they really pay attention to that, and I'm seeing it. There's another one, just flushed it. Well, you know, if I want to hit a 230-yard 6 iron, I think this is my weapon.
I'd say that sample right there, you could throw a blanket over those at 230.
Yeah,
so,
that was consistent.
Definitely a contender.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
we added a little bit of forgiveness, a little bit of size, but as far as the visual component goes, very easy transition from 100 to 150. We're just seeing faster ball speeds, a little more distance.
Yeah, I mean, that's my 5 iron right now. So, you know, if I want one club shorter, one club less, I guess, into greens, I guess this is where I go.
So that's a good point. I mean, for a player that may have lost a little bit of distance, but still trends towards that lower handicap index and looking for something to maybe pick up a couple extra yards, but doesn't want to sacrifice the thinner top line, the more traditional player's orientation as far as shaping and look goes, I mean, T150 could be a really good option for him.
Yeah, this fits right into it. A lot of times in the bays when I'm talking to people and they're talking to me, they say, well, you know, 15 years ago I was this long. Like, okay, well then let's put you in a time machine.
Sure.
This might be a time machine.
It could be it. Curious to see as we get more into that game improvement category, see what our ball speeds and launch profiles look like.
Yep.
Now transitioning into a redesigned T200, still in that hollow cavity design, but now incorporating a better quality tungsten, new engineered weight displacement, also improvement in the face, and improvement in the overall design of the chassis. So biggest complaint that they had from the previous generation T200 was acoustics. So big focus that we have now in new redesigned T200 is going to be all about feel, sound, and consistency. So despite the fact lofts are stronger, that positioning of the new tungsten should help kind of maintain those launch profiles we've seen out of previous generations of T100 and 150.
All right, so first impressions here when I'm looking at this, obviously it's a different finish. This is 1 degree stronger than the T150. So obviously the launch window, I'm gonna be looking at that. I don't want it to come out too low. So this is 27 degrees on a 6 iron. T150 is 28 degrees. But they probably changed some of the tungsten in there to compensate. So a little bit more offset. Everything looks pretty much the same, real close to what the T200 was last year. But what I do know too is when you move the ball around, if you hit the back of this, it doesn't click like it did before. They got some complaints on that as well, I guess, the back of this thing. So it doesn't do that anymore. So.
And that's one thing I can really appreciate with designers and engineers with Titleist. They take feedback from not only their tour staff, but then also fitting companies, their fitters, their staff players, And they really do make an attempt to redefine and re-engineer products that make improvements over previous generations.
All right, let's see how this thing goes. Yeah, that felt fast. Felt a lot like the T150. Got a lot of the same stuff there. Same carry almost.
Look at that
Draw.
apex height. 116 feet, 27 degree lofted 6-iron, or 116 feet, 46 on the landing angle. Spin pretty comparable to what we saw out of the 150. And I'll say first impressions on that first swing, acoustics were, I mean, vastly better.
Yeah, they were way better
Than what we saw at a previous generation T200.
I would have people in the bay when they would hit it, especially indoors, they'd hit it and they're like, whoa, I better perform. I'm like, well, you know.
If I had a better player that was testing T200 in the previous generation, I always kind of gave him a, this may sound a little different, but give it a few swings, let's see how it performs.
Yeah, preloaded a little bit. Yeah, all right. Okay, well that's a miss. That's towed. And still got out there. Good miss. That's flushed. Look what that offset's doing to me.
The sound off the face, just much more crisp, much more solid.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't feel hollow. That was my complaint too on the T200, and I heard that a lot. Feels hollow, sounds hollow. This is solid. That's a little low on the face. See how stable it is down there. Yep.
And I think what we're seeing here, I mean, really kind of a tip of the cap to Titleist engineering for, I mean, strengthening up the chassis, taking the feedback that was provided to them, and just improving the overall performance of this golf club. I mean, from a sound perspective, looking at the numbers, still being able to produce the apex heights and the launch windows that we need to see out of that particular category, it's been tough for a lot of companies to do it. And I think this T200 is going to surprise some people this year.
Yeah, you and I both know that, you know, when you're in this category, sometimes you need launch, you need to retain spin, and these companies like Titleist are starting to really understand that. So this is definitely an improvement over last year.
Agreed. Let's get one more for the sample here, and then we'll move into next head.
That's all I got.
Great ball.
That was dead solid perfect. Woo.
That's good use of one more there.
Yeah.
Yeah, consistency and ball speed, even on the miss hits, really, really solid.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes me very curious about new T350.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a rocket.
So last head out of the new T series that we have is the brand new T350. So this is a very interesting head to me. So this takes a combination of what they had in the T300 and some components from the 400 with that hollow cavity design. They've actually got a little bit of tour inspiration here based upon the chassis that was out on tour for the T200 that we saw a lot of the tour players playing in driving irons and some of the long iron replacements. So this guy here, all about forgiveness and feel. So staying true to what we've seen in the rest of the T series, feel is paramount, but also, and now incorporating a little bit more ball speed, a little bit more forgiveness, and still pretty good look at address. So what are your thoughts here, Blake?
Yeah, you know, first impressions, a little bit bigger top line, expected more offset, longer blade. That's just how it goes when you start to go into the game improvement from the player's irons. Back of it, I mean, it's a vast improvement from the T400. I can see, you can really see what they were doing with blending the 3 and the 400. Now, if you want to split the set with this and the T200, you could do that. It could be 4-iron, 5-iron, sometimes 6-iron, and then T200 on the way down. So, just the way it looks, it would blend really well. So, I'm expecting this to go far.
Well, we got the green set at 230.
All right.
So let's see what we got.
Challenge accepted.
Good sound.
Yeah.
And that's often sacrificed once we get into this more game improvement category. We start to get that click, we start to get a much different sound. And that's one thing like that stayed consistent with all of these heads. Just the acoustics have been really, really good.
Yeah, and look at that peak height, 122. That's coming down like a butterfly at sore feet.
46 degrees on the landing angle from 120 feet with a 26-degree lofted 6-iron. That is pretty impressive.
Yep. Okay, that's a miss. It's a little on the toe where a lot of people hit it, and it still went 230. Sheesh, this is really long. I mean, there's not much I can say, and it feels really good. It doesn't feel hollow. It doesn't feel like other game improvement irons I've hit.
And Titleist engineers were stressing that advancement just in the technology that they refer to as max impact technology. So essentially utilizing and sustaining ball speed on a larger hitting surface on the face. So now seeing this in action, I mean, I could say that that's a pretty valid claim. I mean, that was missed pretty well out off the toe. Ball speed didn't drop a ton. Ball flight didn't move from where we started it. And overall carry and total distance, pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I could feel that MOI. So increasing MOI just resists twisting. So if you hit it out on the toe, you can really feel the shaft move out to the right a little bit while that toe really opens. I could feel it stable through impact. So let's see how it goes here. All right, that was right in the middle of the golf club. That might fly in the hole. Wow.
Nice.
Really far. It's coming down really soft too.
That's absolutely. I mean, at 26 degrees, again, like the ball flight is extremely playable. And a lot of times we'll see getting into that more game improvement category when ball speed goes up. That's what a lot of the manufacturers are chasing is speed, speed, speed. And they start to sacrifice some playability for the average golfer. I mean, launch, apex height, landing angle, spin, everything here with the increase of ball speed is remaining stable.
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to the 2 years. It takes them 2 years to come out with something. Pointing out too that this is they changed this face to the forged face. So the T300 was not a forged face. So now we're forged here. It feels way better. Definitely doesn't click as much either. That was a little low on the heel. Again, did not twist and was a rocket.
All right, I'm putting the challenge out there. Let's get one more.
Okay.
I want to see 240 out of a 6-iron.
All right, here we go. I think that's got it. Obviously, I'm going to draw it. I think I just overachieved.
Overachieved. So with that, I'm pretty impressed with what we're seeing out of new T-Series. So I'm always happy with what Titleist brings to the table. And like we talked about kind of in the introduction here, they don't bring a product to market until it's definitively better than the previous generation. And I mean, one thing that I've noticed that's stayed consistent throughout every sample that we've hit is just feel and sound. So listening to your feedback on feel through impact, also just hearing the ball come off the face. Consistency here, top to bottom, from player's iron up into that new T350, really, really good.
And that's a great word, consistency. Consistency throughout the line. That's what they strive to do. That's what we just saw. Obviously, everything goes really far once you get up into this game improvement area. That's what people usually need, and I think we're gonna move a lot of these.
So with that, let's take a look at some of the data. I'll have you kind of walk us through some of the points that you like and, I mean, some of the improvements that we've seen from previous generations.
All right,
So switching into our comparison screen here and taking a look just at what we see with some ball metrics and overall differentiation between these heads. Blake, if you want to kind of walk us through the different columns here and what they mean to you and what it means as far as application for our players out there curious about these T-Series irons.
Yeah, you know, the ball speed column right there, that makes all the sense in the world. I mean, there are loft differences, but there are construction differences as well. So when you go 134 to 138, that's going to make some sense as far as 2 degrees, and then 1 degree there. That's interesting. Got 2 miles an hour out of 1 degree. That's usually kind of where we want to see it, but then we get into that T350. That's real fast, but it's interesting because it's not all that much faster than that T200.
Yeah.
We get over to the launch angle, and because of the loft, that stacks up pretty well. But I do want to point out that T200 higher than the T150. Really a testament to where they're going to put that tungsten. Spin rates, obviously that 4,800 to 4,300. I was spinning a little bit low from what I do normally, which is interesting. I was hitting a little bit more of a draw today. And then the T200 with 4,600, that's interesting because it is a little bit more than that 150. And then obviously the lowest lofted one's going to have the least amount of spin. And then carry distance, 10 yards. And then right in there with the T150 and T200, that's a 1 yard separation. That's what I would probably expect. And then that bomb with the 222.
Now interesting, talking about the difference there as far as how close the T150 and T200 are. I mean, it's 1 degree of loft separation, but we also have a story here with internal weight displacement, CG location, and also overall forgiveness and playability for our golfer. So T200 obviously being now into that hollow cavity design, having a lot more game improvement features, and also now incorporating higher MOI than what we see in the 150.
Yeah, and that's part of that blended set stuff. So if you want to blend the set, you're really not going to have to mess around too much with lofts, which a lot of times we have to do.
Yeah, 150 and 200, I would, just looking at how these are playing, say that might be good combo set potential there.
Yeah, and then you put the 4-iron in the 350 and hit just rockets.
Perfect. So with wrapping up that testing, some really exciting stuff coming out of these new T-Series irons from Titleist. Make sure, give us a like, subscribe, drop a comment below, and book your fitting at your local TrueSpec. Come give these guys a test for yourself. See you next time.